Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. So today I'm going to be giving you guys a full review and my full complete thoughts on my new favorite book, which is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. I'm also going to be comparing the book to the movie adaptation, which just hit Netflix. So if you want to hear all of my thoughts, and I think I'm going to put spoilers in here, so if you haven't read the book or seen the movie, maybe save this for later. But if you are interested and you have read it, keep watching. So obviously this is my new favorite book. Needless to say, I did give it 5 stars. I haven't read a book that has affected me like this in a very, very long time, and I absolutely love it overall as a horror thriller novel, but also as an allegory and kind of commentary on mental health. I obviously really enjoy that. If you don't know, I'm going to school to become a therapist, so it's right up my alley. I'm also obsessed with thrillers, so it's like those two things put together. I feel like this book was absolutely made for me. If you don't know what this book is about, basically this girl is going home with her new boyfriend to meet his parents, and it's very like Get Out vibes. It's very unsettling and things are getting increasingly weird. Also, after every chapter that you're following the couple, there's kind of a little blurb from a news interview, maybe a newspaper article. You don't really know exactly what it is, and it's just like a vague description of some heinous crime that has been committed. So as you're going further and further into the story, the article interview snippets get a lot more specific, and it leads you to find out what actually happened. So overall, my thoughts on the story is that it was absolutely wonderful, very unsettling. The like creepy, weird vibes definitely came across. It reminded me of a classic horror movie many times. The imagery was very powerful and very scary. And there were a lot of points when I was reading this book where I was just like unsettled and kind of looking around me in my house like, ooh, I just feel like off. And I think that is very difficult for a piece of literature to actually do. I rarely feel those feelings when I'm reading a horror novel or thriller because I've just read so many at this point that I've kind of seen it all. But the way that this was done was just so masterful. It really was like you're watching a horror movie like take place in front of you, and you're kind of like screaming at the main character, girl, that's so weird, like get out of there, this is a red flag and you need to go, you know? So it had those horror movie aspects. So if you really like that, I think you would really love this book. This is the part when I'm going to be getting into spoilers, so if you haven't read the book, go ahead and exit. I would definitely recommend going into this book knowing nothing, because I basically went into this knowing nothing and I absolutely loved it. It was shocking and wonderful. So please do not listen to these if you haven't read the book. We find out that the couple doesn't actually exist and they're in the janitor's head, or at least that is how I interpreted it. I know that other people have interpreted it different ways, but that is the way that I thought of it, because it went from a first person singular perspective to a first person plural perspective. So we're following this main girl, she's talking about I, and then the last probably 15 pages, it was we, me, Jake, and the stalker, janitor, caller person are the same, and they were referred to as we. So that's how I saw it, that couple was in his head, and the heinous crime that had been committed was actually his own suicide. So you can see this I'm Thinking of Ending Things at the beginning of the book, where you're seeing it as a girl thinking of ending the relationship. You come to find out that it's actually a man going through this in his head, and he's thinking of actually ending his life. So I thought that was a really beautiful and complicated allegory for suicidal thoughts that I've never seen before in literature. It was talked about in a very delicate and true to life way that I really appreciated. You know, thinking about suicide as ending the relationship with yourself and kind of grappling with it, it's really powerful. And if you go back and read the book after you see it from that perspective, and you read the conversation between the couple, which I actually did go back and read a few of the scenes, it's just alarming, and it really opens your eyes to how those intrusive thoughts can feel, especially so the girl throughout the book is receiving these like phone calls with a very ominous message from this stalker who she suspects is the janitor, and it's just these intrusive calls that she can't control that keep saying the same ominous message, and that is really how intrusive thoughts could feel. So that is a great way to put that makes it more digestible to think about from a mental health perspective, but also terrifying. So if you're just reading this for the horror aspects and you don't want to get too deep into it, you can also do that. But obviously I am in the mental health field, so I did enjoy that take on it. I think I am going to reread this at some point so I can see the whole thing from beginning to end with that new perspective inside of this man's head, and he's like considering ending the relationship with himself. So that is my overall review for the book and my overall thoughts. Let's get into some specific things. First, I'm going to touch on the characters. So our main character, the perspective that we start out following is this main girl. I don't know if we actually get her name. We just know that her boyfriend's name is Jake. I don't think we get any other name because the caller slash janitor slash stalker is just referred to as the caller the whole time. So our main character is what I'm going to refer to the girl as. I really enjoyed her perspective. I thought she was very relatable. I think many women would feel the same way as her, like going to a new boyfriend's house. You know, you might be freaked out or put off by some things, but you don't really want to speak up. So that kind of feeling that something's off, but you can't say anything and you can't scream out like, I just want to go home. I feel like that's very relatable and very true to life. Everything in this book was so true to life and yet so like horror movie-ish, you know what I mean? Like it was very tropey, but in a believable way. As for Jake, the boyfriend, I did actually enjoy his character, although he did have some pretty glaring flaws, like being a bit pretentious and emotionally guarded. I think that that's a pretty accurate portrayal. Like, I don't think that's anything wild. I think there are definitely people that are like that in the world, and that might be a reason why this girl might want to end the relationship, so I didn't have a problem with that. Some of my favorite characters were actually the creepy parents who lived on the farm. Oh my goodness, so unsettling. Just the laughing at weird times, the like transitions to conversational topics that didn't make sense. I absolutely loved that. I was like, just gave me like shivers, you know, where it's like, ew, these people do not know social norms. Like it's just so freaky, and I loved that. As for the caller slash stalker slash janitor, I was scared of him. Obviously the whole time he's seen as this kind of demonic presence, but at the end when you realize the whole conflict is the struggle inside of his head, it makes you have a lot of empathy for that character, and I honestly felt horrible that the whole time I was demonizing this character that was actually struggling so much. So that speaks to what we do in society maybe a little bit. I don't know, I'm not trying to get too deep. That is just what I think. Okay, next I'm going to get into some of my favorite creepy moments throughout the book. So my top number one favorite creepy moment was when they first pull up to the farm, and instead of, you know, going inside because it's a blizzard and you want to like go inside and be warm, they walk around this creepy farm in the dark, and he's showing her the animals, which include 2 dead lambs. Jarring, horrifying, hate that. and the spot where 2 pigs were left for dead and eaten alive by maggots. If you enjoy body horror at all, that whole section, you will live for it. It was so creepy, so disgusting, and obviously I loved it. The next creepy moment that I loved was they make a stop at Dairy Queen after they leave the farm, and the girls who are working at the counter are very ominous. Like, they know something's going on and they know something bad is gonna happen, but they're like whispering and giggling and being very like cute about it, which just makes the whole situation more off. You know, it's just something seems slightly off the whole time that they're in this Dairy Queen, and I was living for it. Even Jake, the boyfriend, was acting off. Like, he unwrapped a spoon and like put it in his mouth before they even ordered, and then he didn't even end up ordering a Blizzard that he would need a spoon for. So it's like, why did you put that spoon in your mouth? Ew, this whole situation is weird. And then my third top favorite creepy moment was when the main character is running through the school trying to escape, and weird things just start happening around the school that are almost unexplainable. So when she is crawling into the dark art classroom trying to escape this madman, her arm lands in something wet, and obviously she thinks it's blood, and then she finds out that it is just red paint because it is an art classroom. But it is still terrifying because spelled out on the ground is the ominous message that kept getting left on her phone, which just confirms that like the caller stalker is the creepy, weird janitor that is hunting her down. So those 3 moments like gave me the shivers, gave me all of the good horror feelings, and I absolutely loved those moments. I think they're some of the strongest scenes in the book. So finally, let's get into the comparison with the movie. I have thoughts. I'm gonna go ahead and give the movie a 1 star because I actually DNF'd it. I've never DNF'd a movie in my whole entire life, but I feel that it was an atrocity because I love this book so much, and the movie did it 0 justice whatsoever. I do not like the way that they changed the characters to make them so much more pretentious and annoying. I liked in the book how they seemed like smart, intelligent, normal people, but there was just something creepy and off about them. I did not like that Jake in the movie was a jerk. He was completely unlikable, and in the book I did like him, and you could tell that he was so desperately in love with the main character that you really felt for him. In the movie, he just seemed like a jackass the whole time. So that part of it I was really taken out of, and I didn't enjoy those character changes. There were also slight character changes to the parents when they get to the farm. They weren't as just like slightly off and socially inept as they are in the book, but they completely changed ages from like scene to scene. It was just very odd. I did not like the way the movie was done. I like that the book is so straightforward because it's very easy to picture and the imagery is horrifying. The movie was very abstract, and you could tell it was trying to play with symbolism and be so deep. And I don't think that the story needs that at all. I actually prefer this so much more than the weird, like, existential take that the movie was trying to have on it. I also just don't think the acting was that strong. The parents' acting in the movie was phenomenal, even though I didn't like how their characters were changed. Jake, hated him the whole time, absolutely despised, do not like him. And our main character, I just pictured being a completely different type of person. I don't know if it was maybe because I was picturing someone like me in that scenario, so I could relate to the story more, but I don't know. She was older than I thought. She was more mean, if I'm being honest. Our main character in the story does not seem mean. It seems like she has justifications for wanting to end things and the relationship. And in the movie, she just seemed like a bitch and the dude seemed like a jerk. So it was like, maybe you do belong together and you shouldn't end things. You know what I mean? So as far as I got into the movie, which I literally, guys, I cannot stress this enough. I never DNF movies. I'm like, you know, it's 2 hours of my life. Might as well finish it. I even finished Midsommar, which is like the weirdest, creepiest, most pointless movie I've ever watched in my life. So sorry. I know that might be an unpopular opinion, but hated it. And I even finished that. So the fact that I couldn't finish this, it really says something. I think I was also just really mad about it because I loved the book so much. So when the movie did not measure up, it kind of made me sad. But yes, overall, I do not recommend watching the movie, especially if you really love the book. You will be disappointed, but I highly recommend this book, and it is definitely my new favorite. It will be in my top 20 books of 2020, no question. So that is about it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.